Hey, it's Shay and welcome back to Shay's Artsy. And in today's video, I'll be telling you about 4 dumb things I used to believe as a young artist. Number 1, no sketching. Yes, I actually believe this with every fiber of my being. I find it ironic because now I barely render any of my sketches. I always keep them as sketches, and even now, even this piece I'm doing, I still prefer the sketch a million times over than the final piece. I don't know, sketches are just so loose and flowy, and you can fill in the blanks with your brain, and it can be so much more beautiful than when it's just cemented in a final piece. I think this stemmed from my first art YouTuber I followed, which was Mayu from Fun to Draw, and I adored her art style so much. And the thing is, in Mayu's tutorials for her chibi art, she would use a Sharpie and just draw straight onto paper. Now looking back, it was okay because the chibi shapes she was drawing were really just simple figures, so it made sense for her to just use a Sharpie straight onto paper. But for me, who was just starting with art, I was blown away. I was like, yep, that's what I'm gonna do. No sketching, no pencils for me ever. Raw Sharpie onto paper. Also, I probably didn't want to waste my cute Mickey Mouse erasers. Now, this indirectly helped me with my line art today because I was pushing myself to have a perfect line every time that I actually became super confident with my strokes. So my line art is really good today. That was good for that style and that time. So I was basically drilling my pencils through my paper until I received advice from a good YouTube video. And also, sketching is really good. It's the skeleton of your piece. It's a way to warm up, a way to brainstorm multiple ideas. Well, unless you're Kim Jong-ji, who literally just dips into ink and freestyles architecture and fully rendered car engines in full perspective too. The dude's like a living printer. Number 2, realism is the only valid form of art. Now, due to the scale and complexity of realism and the influence of the Renaissance era, I can understand why people tend to rank or esteem realism as the most profitable art style, but it's not the only way to go. Now, don't get me wrong, these artists are so skilled. They're rendering things that the naked eye would miss, like pores and tiny reflections in the pupil. You can achieve this level of mastery in other styles as well. So learning realism is going to help you develop your personal style too. I mean, you have to learn what details make up a hand before you can stylize it, the infamous cartoon style of having 4 fingers and a hand. That's a form of stylization. Most of these artists they at least know the basics of realism. It's such a good piece of advice I've incorporated into my style that before I attempt to stylize anything, I look up a real reference of the thing I'm drawing. I draw it as realistically as I can possibly get it, and then I simplify the shapes into a more cartoony, illustrative type style. And don't let anyone tell you that's a job. Sure, the digital art industry is really new because the technology just got invented a couple years ago. But I raise you video games, I raise you graphic design, and the big boss themselves, Disney, all art jobs. And most of these styles are using Disney or any cartoon animation studio are super simple lines and shapes and super interesting art styles. It can be as simple as Adventure Time, the more comic-y style of the Justice League series, or in this case, the What If series. All of these jobs are super profitable and are in high demand. The last thing I used to believe was that you had to be at a certain skill level to call yourself an artist. For the first 3 years, when I actually started practicing art and taking it seriously, I refused to call myself an artist because I thought that title was reserved for people who had art galleries or the great masters like Van Gogh or Michelangelo. But I realized as long as you create, you are an artist. From the master artist who can render a face in seconds to the baby who just started to scribble on the walls. We are all artists in our own ways. I hope you enjoyed the speed paint process. Thanks for watching. Bye!